Welcome back to the Questions About Life podcast. I'm Brian Fleming.
And I'm Daniel Broome.
And today we have a fun question. It's a question that Daniel does not know I'm going to ask. I didn't tell him what it is. And it's something that came to me really about 20 minutes ago, about 20 minutes before you got here.
Good timing.
And yeah, because we don't really plan this out, but we do come up with something. And it's a topic that you and I are both extremely interested in. And by the way, if you have questions about life that you want to ask us or have us discuss or just talk about, be sure to email us at questionsoboutlifepodcast@gmail.com, questionsoboutlifepodcast@gmail.com, and we would be happy to answer your question and discuss it.
Yeah, but I like before you tell us what the topic is, I like this idea. We were talking about this right before we turned the camera on, is that I have no idea what the question is going to be. And so this is going to be a completely just off the cuff. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what it is myself.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying before, all of our conversations anyway are pretty off the cuff. We don't really plan them out, like if we're hanging out or something. And so I want to kind of make sure too that we're not planning these too much as we start doing them, because then we have time to think about it where the record button has not been hit.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this.
Yeah, it's less authentic that way.
So today's question is, what makes great music great? What makes great music great?
That is a good one. Answers are coming to me on rapid fire right now. I think that first of all, it depends on the person, right? But
different kinds of music for different reasons.
Yeah, but one of the things I think that makes great music great is if it evokes emotion. If it somehow induces or evokes an emotion within the listener, right? Like sometimes we hear happy music and you feel happy, or sometimes we hear sad lyrics or that kind of thing, and you sort of feel what the artist feels. I think that's not the only thing that makes great music great, but it's a big part of it.
Yeah, like connecting with the words. I know that this is something I'm trying to get better at, because I'm pretty good with words as far as communicating an idea clearly. I'm an ad copywriter. I've been doing that for years. I'm a professional communicator, and so I know how to say things very clearly. What I want to get better at is how you say something in a way that's poetic, where you're not saying it, but in the way that you say it, it goes deeper for a person than just saying it. Like, I'm trying to think of an example, but like there's certain lyrics in songs where you hear it and you go, wow, like how did they think to say it that way?
Yeah. It's
I
poetic, like you said.
Yeah, and I need to read more poetry. I need to, my brother in particular, Eric, he was in the Marine Corps, and he hasn't like written books or had a blog or anything like that that I'm aware of. But there was one time where he came through town, and we were sitting at my campfire out back, and I remember he read something that he had written, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I was like, I had no idea he was so good with words. And, it's my understanding he's read the dictionary a few times. And thesaurus is like, so he has a very, very extensive vocabulary. And, these were things, I don't remember exactly what they were, but I remember being blown away because I never knew he had that, not just ability, but the desire to write things. And I remember telling my mom after he left, like I know how to write in a certain way really good. I said, but I don't have what he has. Yeah. And I said, I would love to learn to say things the way he said them in those things he wrote, because it was poetic, and not in a cheesy way. It was, I don't know how to say what I'm feeling the way that he just did.
Right. Yeah.
And it was better. Yeah.
What's funny about that too is because what strikes me about your story about your brother is that when you said you didn't know that he had that in him, but then you read it and he clearly did. You've seen, like, you ever watch those shows like The Voice or AGT or anything like that? Yeah. And every once in a while they'll have some real shy person come on and they're real timid and, they just don't have a whole lot of confidence. But as soon as the music starts, all of a sudden they're a different person.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of a testament to how art, whether it be poetry or music or painting or any sort of art, gives people an opportunity, I was going to say, to take on a different persona, but maybe it's not maybe it is their persona. It's part of who they are. And they through that medium of art, they find the comfort level to show that part of themselves,
Yeah.
I think I'm that way in a way also. Like, I find that if I'm writing to somebody, or whether it's email or text or whatever, how often do we write letters anymore? But the occasional letter or birthday card, I'm much more prone to be maybe more forward or more share more of, like, whatever my emotions of it is than I am if I'm face to face speaking with my spoken word.
So you're more comfortable communicating more deeply in the written word rather than the spoken word. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a part of that is I guess you're sort of hiding behind, it's not coming from my face, right? But also
well, we communicate differently if we're face to face with somebody.
For sure.
Yeah, like half the shit people say to you on Facebook, they'd never say to your face.
For sure.
And that's an extreme bad example, but it can be the same with, how you feel about somebody.
Well, maybe it's the same concept.
I don't think there's as much of a threat of rejection, or what do they think if I say this and it sounds like it's too close to the heart, or little things like that. I think might be the little bricks on the wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was a good point that you brought up about, because we've talked about this in the past, about how people are so mean to each other on social media. And part of that reason is because they don't have to face the person that they're saying to. They don't have to suffer the consequences of seeing their reaction.
Or like Mike Tyson says, you've all gotten way too comfortable talking shit on social media because, you've never been punched in the face.
Yeah.
For saying it.
Or there's no risk of being punched in the face.
Yeah.
Dang it, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So it's the same concept where you don't have to suffer those consequences. So, like, if I'm shy, like, I'm married, so this doesn't happen anymore. But if I'm shy and you're a beautiful woman and I'm texting you, maybe I'll be a little bit more flirtatious because I don't have to. You're not looking me in the eyes when I'm saying it, right?
Some sort of threat.
Yeah, or if you're going after a business opportunity or something, you might be more willing to be more aggressive with your potential client than you would be if you were standing in front of their desk giving them a presentation.
Yeah.
But the same applies to music too, I think. And that was part of your question, is like you're able to kind of sort of merge yourself and the message that you're trying to convey with the music. Mm-hmm. You're able to kind of merge that with the art, and so it's people are more comfortable.
Yeah. You're expressing it in a way that's outside of you, so maybe that's why it feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like,
it is.
Like when you walked in, we had Pink Floyd playing on the TV, my wife and I. It was the Pulse album. It's the whole album. So we just have it up on our big 75-inch flat screen, just playing, as we're putting stuff away and whatever. And, like my wife was talking about Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd. That's one great example. And the whole song, in every way, instrumentally, lyrically, is great. But the part that touched her soul was the first line. Mm-hmm. And in the first line, it says, he says, "Remember when you were young, you shined like the sun. Shine on you, crazy diamond." And that song was written for Syd Barrett, who started out with Pink Floyd, apparently got on drugs, never quite recovered, left the band, and he was their friend, though. He was their songwriter.
Yeah,
he
was a big part of the band.
Yeah, I remember Roger Waters going, "What the fuck do you do? Your songwriter just left." Like, I had to start, like, like more so because that was like his main role, and the heart of the lyrics and things of Pink Floyd, like, was in large part on Syd Barrett.
Sure.
And it
was like almost like a tribute to him.
Yeah, like, we still miss you, know? And he never did recover. But, like, they, another lyric in that is, what was it? Gosh, I know this song. I can't think of it, but it's like something, like black holes in the sky. So you had that look in your eyes, like black holes in the sky. Shine on you, crazy diamond. Well, like, it was speaking to, like, the hopelessness of, like, you changed something and you died. And, like, but for my wife, and we were talking about, we won't go into her whole story. We will in a future episode, though. But, she was abused by, family members from the age of 4 sexually. And she doesn't remember a time in her life when she felt safe or normal, because really her first memories were being abused. So her whole life she's had that trauma filter. And when that first line of "Shine on You, Crazy Diamond" came on, and he says, "Remember when you were young," and she's like, "No, I don't. You shine like the sun, like you were pure."
Yeah.
And now it's like, "Shine on you, crazy diamond." But the thing is, now that she had the psychedelic assisted therapy treatment for that, all the the trauma filter left her, and now she's exactly like she was when she was young, and she shined like the sun, like for the first time at 38 years old.
Yeah,
like she's her real self again,
sure.
without the infringement of that filter on her. And again, we'll do a future episode with her, but she is healed. And so when she heard that first line, she's like, "No, actually, I don't remember. Like, that was taken from me." Was her reaction. But now she's past it, and like
she's made her way back, though, right?
Yeah. Or there's another Pink Floyd song, "Coming Back to Life." Just the title, like, that's where she's at now, and it's like, what a beautiful way to say, like, I'm healed. Yeah.
It's true, man, and I think about this a lot too. It's like, the lyrics are a huge part of the art of music and the beauty of music, but then another big part of it, I think, is when it's combined with the sound of the music, the melody or the bridge or whatever part of the song that it is, because those sounds are emotion evoking as well, right? Like, you can listen to a song and let's say it's in a different language, and in a language you don't understand, but you if it's a sad song. You can hear
feel it.
You can hear if it's a happy song. It's all in the beat and the notes that are used, and the sometimes maybe the key that it's in, and so when you combine beautiful words like that, which is already art, with something else that stands on its own and is already art, and it's the beautiful music that goes with it, it can be very powerful. And then to take it a little bit deeper than that, and maybe I'm a weirdo for thinking this way, but there's that concept that everything is just, all matter is just vibration, right?
Like energy vibrating.
Yeah. And we're just
and that's physics. That's science and physics. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We're just like, matter is just energy at a low vibration and at different vibrations, and that's what makes up different types of matter.
Yeah. Einstein talked a lot about that.
Yeah. Well, music is just sound, right? And it's vibration. It's sound waves vibrating your eardrums.
Frequencies.
Frequencies. Yeah, that your brain interprets, and then it decides, is this sad? Does this make me sad? Does this make me happy? Does this make me grateful, or whatever emotion it evokes? So there's this concept that there's certain frequencies, certain notes that are healing. Like the ancients used to use and I've got some downloaded
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
thing. Like just it's like an hour of a certain frequency.
Yeah.
And they say this is the healing frequency, or this is the.
Those are all over YouTube, like
Are
sleep,
they?
sleep frequency, healing frequency for sleep, and they're like 12, 14-hour videos.
Yeah.
And like we fall asleep to them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there's been some ancient cultures in the past. There's evidence that they use frequency as medicine. They use they throw somebody in a room and go,
Sound.
here, listen to this.
Yeah.
So
Well, it does influence us. So even if you don't understand that, you can't deny that noises influence us, whether they startle us, whether they damage our eardrums if they're too high of a frequency or decibel level, or you're just driving down the road not thinking about anything, and a certain song comes on, and randomly you get emotional, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't even know what this song's about. Maybe I've never heard this song, but you're like, I gotta Shazam that. Like, what is this, or why did that make
what's
me?
Shazam? Is that like a?
You're on Shazam?
Is
Oh, it's
it
an
like
app.
recognizes the song for you?
Yeah, if a song comes on,
Okay,
you're like,
yeah.
I love this song. You're like, but who is it? You tap the button, you go in the app, you tap the big button, it listens to it and tells you who it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when we were kids, we just had to wait
till it came on the radio.
till it came on the radio again, and hopefully the announcer would say who it was.
Yeah, the DJ.
Yeah.
Like, coming up, it's Pink Floyd with
Yeah.
their 1979.
Or if your mom
album.
turned the car off right as he's about to announce it, you just don't know now,
Yeah.
and there's no internet to search it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what Shazam is. Oh, it's great.
Yeah. I can't. I think I had that app before, or an app like
It's
it.
been around a long time. Yeah.
But yeah, I think. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think that what makes great music great, it's all relative, right? Because it all really depends on our past experiences also. But I think it's music that evokes emotion in the listener.
Yeah.
Because this happens to me. I love music. It's one of my favorite things about being alive.
Yeah.
And,
That's why I knew you'd love this episode. This
yeah.
question. Yeah.
So, occasionally you're driving. That's when I listen to a lot of music, is when I'm driving or working out or something, and you'll hear like a guitar solo, and it just fires you up. So you're just like, yeah, let's, whatever goals you have for that day, it just sort of motivates you to do that.
Yeah.
And
speaking of guitar solos, I don't know if I sent it to you, but I sent it to a few people. It was on David Gilmour's YouTube recently. The guitar solo in the song "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd was just awarded, or it was just claimed as the greatest guitar solo of all time.
yeah.
In the one in "Comfortably Numb."
Well, Rolling Stone magazine does a list like that too. Like
Yeah.
they'll rate like the 50 greatest guitarists of all time, or 50 greatest guitar solos of all time.
Yeah.
I don't deny that.
Well, and what were the factors too?
Yeah.
In fact, I'll read. Want me to read it to you real quick?
Sure.
I've got the image still on my phone here. Let's see. Because I totally believe it. Now again, greatest guitar solo of all time. That's going to be up to opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all relative is not the word I'm looking for.
Like a matter
Subjective. It's all subjective.
Yeah, like a matter of opinion. But well, in I'm trying to remember the way they asked it. Here, let me just go. I don't know. I might have sent it to you.
I think you did. Yeah. Yeah.
Here it is. Comfortably Numb voted greatest guitar solo of all time. Comfortably Numb has been voted greatest guitar solo of all time by listeners to Planet Rock Radio in a new poll. So that's according to this poll. Mm-hmm. It says thousands of votes were cast for the poll, which was an open vote, meaning that any rock song in recorded history was eligible to be included in the countdown. Once the votes have been counted, David Gilmour's solo in the band's 1979 track Comfortably Numb was named greatest of all time. Now, I can think of a few where I think greatest of all time, that's not that one. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's definitely up there. But again, it would be a matter of opinion.
Yeah, well, it's a great guitar solo. I don't deny that at all.
Yeah,
I love
totally
it. I love
epic.
listening to it, right?
Yeah.
But also, any guitar solo, like let's take Comfortably Numb guitar solo for example. Sometimes when I listen to that guitar solo, I'm freaking loving it, right? Like it's exactly what I need to hear in that moment. But other times, maybe it's not like I'm not really connecting with that because that's not who I am in this moment right now.
Yeah,
That's
not
not
like
the mood I'm
feeling
in.
it.
Yeah. So, and maybe I need a completely different type of guitar solo. I need to hear some like head PE or some punk music, or maybe I need to hear some blues music or
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
Like equally epic.
Yeah. So
guitar solos can be like a matter of how you feel or what mood you're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it what you need at the time?
Yeah.
Right? But also, not only that, but a lot of us connect with the guitar solo and Comfortably Numb. A lot of us do. It's a very universal sort of emotion that it brings out into us. A lot of us can really relate to that. It's very soothing, comforting. But not all of us. We all have different experiences. We all need to hear different types of stuff. There's stuff that, like Comfortably Numb, that is all very relatable. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
But to your point, the poll, I mean, this is generally speaking, this is thousands of people, and this was
that
the one
one
that got
kept
the most
coming
votes.
up.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's still only a certain amount of people. Even if it was a lot, it's still a certain amount. So if there were 10 times that number, maybe it would have been different. Maybe it wouldn't. Like, I'll tell you one that I thought when I saw that. There's I think an underrated song by Pink Floyd. Like, if you like Pink Floyd, you probably listen to it. But it's called Sorrow. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of distortion in his guitar at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
And there's like this 3-minute guitar solo riff that, to me, like, I can't sit still, and I've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
When he starts playing, it's like the 6.5 minute mark it starts, and it goes all the way to the end of the song. Here's another thing. It's amazing, but then it builds and goes a little higher, the intensity, a little higher, and you think, you get to the point where you think, this is probably like the height of the solo. Like, it's, because it's already so amazing. Like, if you didn't know any better, you would think this is like the big climax and it's about to come down.
Yeah.
They keep you on the rope. They keep tugging at you, and then they bring you all the way up, and David Gilmour just goes fucking crazy on that guitar. And even like the drummer is like laughing and smiling in the video. The other guy on the backup guitar, he's looking at David Gilmour just like laughing and shaking his head. Yeah. Everyone on stage is like laughing, like, we can't believe we get to do this for a living.
Yeah.
And even David Gilmour just kind of has this like comatose look in his eye, and he looks over at the guy and just kind of grins. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we get to do this. Like, everybody's having an amazing time. And for me in that video, it's the one live at Pompeii. Just type in Sorrow live at Pompeii. That's the one. You're watching a fucking Jedi on the guitar. A master craftsman on the guitar. He's been doing it his whole life, basically.
It's like an extension of his body.
Yeah, it's like, and he's just doing that just so effortlessly and creating that sound that is just so, it just amps me up.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like it's a privilege that I get to listen to it.
Sure.
That's how good it is.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot like any sort of art, right? Like you've talked in the past about storytelling, how to tell a good story. And it does, I'm not as big of an expert on it as you are, but what I imagine is that in storytelling, you're doing sort of the same thing. You're sort of building up, you're getting to a climax, and you're sort of not playing with people's emotions, but you're
kind of leading it somewhere.
Yeah, you're trying to lead some emotions, and then you could do the exact same thing with storytelling, where it's like, okay, everybody thinks this is the climax, but bam, here's some more stuff. You see it, movies do that.
Yeah,
there's all forms of art.
Yeah, there's a certain way that works right. One of the things is that in life, if you're a communicator, always start out talking about the problem you solve, whether it's a song, or a story, like the song that I co-wrote about my life story, called "Walk Through Hell." It's on YouTube. It starts out, I had a plan for my life, but it blew up in my face. I was dodging IEDs in some godforsaken place. If you go to walkthroughhell.com, it'll take you straight to the YouTube link. I bought walkthroughhell.com just so it's an easy way to tell people to go listen to it. But yeah, go to walkedthroughhell.com. It'll take you straight to the song. But even that song, it didn't start out happy. It started out with a problem. I had a plan for my life, but it blew up in my face. How many people can relate to that?
Everybody.
Yeah. And a lot of the best songs, best stories, like they start with that in some way. Best movies. Or if there's nothing wrong, in the first like 15, 20 minutes, you better have a fucking problem or you're going to start losing the audience.
Yeah.
Like people are going to be like, what are we even watching this for?
Sure.
You know, you got to get to the problem fast because it hooks our attention. Well, you can do that with lyrics.
Because you always want to resolve the problem. You want it to be
There
resolved.
has to be a reason we're listening to this.
Yeah.
Well, if there's a problem, now the reason is to overcome the problem or to feel your way through the journey and experience that journey, you know, and then have it resolve, hopefully. Think about the movies. The movies I've always hated the worst are the ones where they have the ending that you don't want them to have. There's only a few.
Yeah.
But like there's one my wife absolutely hates. It's got Robert Pattinson in it, the guy from Twilight, who he plays Edward.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's this movie about 9/11. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen whatever this movie is I'm referring to, my wife hates it. And I got up and I'm like, fuck this movie. I'm like, that was a wasted 2.5 hours. Because it was this love story and all of this stuff going on. It ended with him dying in the Twin Towers on 9/11. And then it's like, credits roll, the end. And we're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we're like, we hate you, whoever produced this.
Yeah.
And Nicholas Sparks does the same thing. Not as bad, but if it's a Nicholas Sparks movie, guaranteed the person you don't want to die in the end that would be the most painful to you as the viewer, that dude's going to die, or that lady's going to die.
Yeah.
It's his M.O. But that ties into songs and like the structure of what keeps
The structure of music, it happens too.
grabs our attention, keeps our attention. We feel something. We want it to resolve somehow.
Yeah. Well, they use that term, like if you're playing whatever key you're in, right? Let's say we're in the key of C. Typically, your first note in any bar is going to be a C, and then any of the other notes that go along with C. But it never sounds right unless they call it resolving it.
Yeah.
Unless you come back to the C, you always got to keep visiting home of the key you're in.
So you got to close
resolving it.
Yeah, you got to close the loop. You have to bring it back to where it started, kind of like completion, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's so satisfying. Maybe that's part of the reason that music is so pleasurable, because you keep getting those. Is resolution is resolve the root word of resolution?
Yeah.
Either way, it gets resolved, and then it's
Yeah.
and that's pleasurable.
And that's a movie thing. It's a song thing. It's a public speaking thing. Like I do this in my speeches. Now I remember the first time I saw it done, I didn't know the guy was using it until I learned from him, and he taught that. And I'm like, oh, that's how you keep everyone there. He was a millionaire speaker. I mean, legit. I mean, I watched him make like $50,000, and people would jump over tables trying to like get to his table at the end. And one thing he said was, "Hey, here's what I'm going to teach you today. Something about internet marketing that people are wanting to know." And he said, "By the way, at the end of my talk, don't get up and leave, because everything I'm going to teach you today is going to work. But the biggest secret is going to be the last thing I teach you. Last 10 minutes of this presentation, you better be in your seat. You're going to miss everything if you miss that."
Yeah.
So he set a hook.
Nobody knew when that 10 minutes was going to
Nobody
start.
knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, if he got to the end of that, forgot to give that last bonus thing about the real secret, we'd all be pissed off.
Yeah.
I do it in fact, I did it in one of my speeches, one of my resilient speeches. And for some reason, I forgot to say it at the end. Afterwards, I had people coming up to me at the book table, "Hey, what was that thing?" And I was like, "Oh, shit. I forgot to say the thing." Like, I got distracted, ran out of time. Like I don't know, but I'm like, holy crap. I've seen that done like once, and I left feeling like there was this hole in me, this missing piece, like it wasn't complete. And like one of the things I do, there's a story about meeting my friend Cody's mom. Cody was, killed in an ambush in Iraq. He was my roommate. And so anyways, meeting her years later was my experience with her and how I tell the story was one of the greatest healing aspects for me, finding meaning in my suffering and moving forward beyond the trauma I'd experienced. And so that's one way that I do it in a speech. And so if I told you, look, at the end of this speech, I'm going to teach you what's helped me. But the biggest thing is the last story I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
If you miss that, you're going to miss everything. Imagine me getting to the end of the speech. You're in the audience. And I didn't say, have a nice day. I leave the stage. The announcer comes up. And you're going, he didn't say the thing.
Yeah.
There's that hole in you. There's no resolution.
Yeah.
It didn't come together. But if I open, it's called a story loop in storytelling. If you open a story loop, you've got to close that fucking thing.
Yeah.
If you open the loop, you got to close it because it resolves. For some reason, that's how we're wired. That's how we think. If it happens, sometimes you don't notice that it's happening. But if it doesn't happen, something in you goes, something's not right. You're agitated, even if you don't know why. Like something's missing. There's a piece that's not there.
Yeah, a piece that's not resolved.
Yeah.
I wonder how that relates to like visual art, like like a painting, right? I'm sitting here trying to think of how that works with a painting, because sometimes like I came across this image on the internet recently where it was a very powerful image. I mean, it was. I'll show it to you. I saved it. It's in my phone. It was a very powerful image. It was basically, I mean, it was very disturbing. When I say powerful, I mean it was a very disturbing image.
It was powerful enough to disturb you by merely looking at it.
Yeah. And you know, that's the emotion that it pulls out of you when you look at it. It's like, oh my God. And it's not pornographic or very violent or anything like that. It's basically a depiction of young people, very young people, being held captive by like who knows why, you know. They're chained and there's like
hostage kind of.
Yeah, and you can see the condition they're in, and it's and the desperation in their eyes. It's a painting though, and it's just so powerful. It really got me, and for me, that was enough. Like, wow, this is a beautiful piece of art, because they really captured the moment here.
Yeah.
Like, this really brought, like, I'm like talking about it right now, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking out loud here. I don't disagree that resolution, if that's the word that it is, or being resolved, is important, especially in music and in speeches and in books and movies.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking out loud. I wonder how that relates
to the open loop resolution.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't with visual art, right? With still art.
Yeah, with still art, I don't personally know how it would, but with still art, I think of it like a storyboard. You know, you have like scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, scene 5 through 10. You know, scene 1's the beginning, scene 10 is the end of the story.
Yeah.
And each is a picture telling a part of the story. When I think of visual art, when I try to think, does it open a loop and resolve? I don't know that visually, I don't know that it should resolve, because that would be the end of the story. But like with this visual that you saw with like these small children chained to a wall, the hopelessness in their eyes, that's meant to evoke emotion and action.
Yeah.
Maybe some sort of justice that needs to be served. If we resolved it somehow, then we just move on and the kids got rescued.
Oh, they're good now.
Yeah. But if there's 3 more scenes of the battle to get them out and save them, then the last scene is like a SEAL team going in and killing a bunch of terrorists and rescuing the kids, for example.
Yeah.
That would be the resolution. With visual, I don't know that. I think it's good when there's not resolution, because it kind of stabs you.
Just kind of leaves you with that emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sit with that for a minute. Yeah.
But also, if it's a visual like that, a piece of art that is resolving, that's also great too. And there's also pictures and paintings where the thing is like diagonally cut in half with paint, and you got like a before and after kind of in a blending, a transition somehow in the middle, where it's like a before and after. It's like the problem and the open loop, and then the resolution at the end. Like it started bad, but then there's like this transformation going across the canvas, and then it's like they're better now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is an interesting topic because there's so many different ways of looking at it. Like, here's another example is like we were talking about how, you start with a problem, whether it's in music or storytelling, a book, a movie, whatever. Start with a problem, you kind of build up to an intensity of that problem, and then it's working on resolving it, and then at the end it gets resolved, right? Yeah. But what about a story where I don't know, let's say a bear is attacking a family, and somebody kills the bear, and the happy ending or the resolution is the bear got killed, and everybody's fine now, and we're good.
The family's safe. Yeah, they're not going to die by being eaten by a bear.
Yeah, but there's other ways of looking at that, right? It's like, well, what about that bear's family? Or what about the
bears have
bear
feelings?
Population?
Do they have emotional feelings or population control? Or
yeah. So it sort of depends on where your allegiances are too.
Is animal life over human life? For some people, it clearly is. For me, it's not. I will kill an animal over. To protect a human any day of the week. I will never, don't kill the bear. Hey, it's eating that kid. Like, fuck that bear. Yeah. Like, sorry, it's just what it does. Well, this is just what I do.
Yeah.
It's like
that's how nature works. Like,
yeah.
And the reason, you're thinking about it the same way I was, because the way I was, what made me think of that was what is a happy ending? And nature doesn't care. Nature doesn't care about
kind of
happy or sad. Yeah, nature just does nature. Yeah. Nature is nature.
Happen how it will.
And that evolves lots of death, lots of birth, lots of starvation,
viciousness.
Lots of desperation. Like that's how before we created this human society, that's just how it works.
It's just how it's being done.
Yeah, there is no good or bad. It just is.
Like as far as nature doing what it does, because we project on nature too, as part of nature or a piece of nature. We project on it. We could say, like you said, oh, what about that bear's family? Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not a bear expert. I'm pretty sure bears don't have emotions where, at least maybe to the extent that humans do, where, oh, where did brother bear go? Mm-hmm. He went out and we never saw him again. Where is he? I'm not saying they don't feel it, because as creatures, there might be something inside them, spiritually or biologically even, where maybe they do. Again, I'm not the expert. I don't know that a bear...
You're not a zoologist?
No, I am not. Damn it, but I play one on TV. No. But, so I'm not saying a bear wouldn't feel it if one of the bears from the group went missing, because maybe that happened. To me, it seems like, well, they just move on. Now, maybe they do feel it to some extent. I don't know. I don't personally know, based on my knowledge of life and animals, that they would feel it the way that you and I feel it if we were to lose one of our kids.
Yeah. I wonder if...
but we project that onto them and say, oh, what, you killed the ant. And, hey, those ants are good. Now they're sad. Their brother ant is gone because you smashed it on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We're projecting how we are onto that. Do they actually feel that? I don't know. It would depend, but I don't think they do. But yeah. I'm not an ant expert either.
I'm not an expert on it either, and I don't know either. But, I think about what we do see in nature is, for example, let's just keep using bears as an example. We know that a mother bear is going to protect her cubs at all costs, right? So, and whatever motivates the mother bear to do that, she'll protect it at all costs. But I wonder if that's because maybe it's just instinct and it has nothing to do with emotion, or
there's a built-in survival of the species where I need to protect these because these carry on our species in some way. Or is it really, these are my babies, like a mother with two children?
Yeah.
Where at? Yeah.
But I'm thinking also that like most animals, ants, bears, deer, whatever, are much more connected and have a much better understanding of the nature of nature. And so, like in that scenario where it's like, we hadn't seen Dad in a couple days. Where's he been? I think maybe they just sort of accept, like, he must have somehow got killed. That's the way things work.
Or they
We
just
knew
sort of-
when he
yeah.
was leaving that, like, life dies everywhere, and it could be our day at any time.
Yeah, they just inherently know it. And maybe
It's just like, well, that's just the way it goes.
And if the leader, the dad wolf, goes out, for example, doesn't come back, well, eventually one of the other wolves are going to step into his place as the alpha in that group in his absence.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that a conscious choice, or is it just how they're wired and they do?
Yeah.
I think I don't know, but
I got a personal experience on this. So I'm not a big deer hunter. I've been deer hunting once, and I recently bought some property, and we're bringing the deer population because it's something that I want to start doing. But the one time I went deer hunting, there was two of them. They were and they were eating, and I had them in the scope, and one of them presented a good shot, so I shot it and killed it, and the other one kind of ran away, got about 30 feet away, because we've seen these two deers. We had been watching them for a couple days.
Okay.
And we knew they were friends, lovers, whatever. They were a couple.
Yeah.
And after I shot it, I didn't feel bad about shooting. I knew we were going to eat it. We're not going to waste the meat.
Yeah.
It's a very humane way for a deer to die. Otherwise, it's going to grow old and
Get eaten by a wolf.
predator's going to eat it alive.
And it's gonna die being eaten alive.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't feel bad about that. I was
And
happy.
it's population control. People who are against hunting, they don't seem to understand that either. But go ahead.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was happy and I was excited about the fact that I killed the deer. But what did evoke some emotion from me is the other deer's reaction. It kind of ran off and about 30 feet away, and then looked over, and I can't explain it. I'm also not an expert on deer body language, but
Me neither.
what I interpreted from its body language,
It's like a
and the
college
way it
degree
was,
in anthropology as far as marketing value.
yeah. But what I interpreted was it was sad. It was like, shit, Stanley's gone. Like, what the fuck just happened? It just stood there and was looking at it.
Trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, and it was probably sad. That was his or her partner in at least going and eating dinner together, because we kept seeing them eating.
Dude, they're on their way to Texas Roadhouse, and you shot them.
Yeah. Well, they were eating dinner when I shot it, or breakfast. I think it was breakfast, but. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if they have emotions. Dogs do, though. Dogs seem like they get sad sometimes.
Dogs, yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know if it differs by animal.
Happy,
But and they can feel your emotions, too. Like,
Yeah.
they can smell, sense, whatever.
They're very empathetic.
Yeah. In cats, too, sometimes, even though they do their own thing. If you're sad, like, sometimes a cat will, like, come sit next to you or on your lap. But yeah, I know dogs for sure. Like, it seems they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dogs like music too. Or do animals like music? I think some animals.
I don't know. There's this thing on YouTube though, called Cat TV.
Basically cats dancing or what?
No, it's like birds and squirrels and birds chirping, nature. My cat will jump up right beneath the TV and start pawing at the screen, trying to get the birds, trying to get the squirrels, and they'll just keep running across the screen. And my cat will just sit there and watch them for like hours. Yeah. And it's called Cat TV. It's just literally
it's for cats.
It's TV for cats.
I got
you.
you.
So it's what would keep them entertained, and it's just there. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of it, but
yeah.
That
was a good question though that you came up with today. What makes a great song great?
Yeah. Well,
what do you think? I've said a lot about what I think about it. What do you think? What do you think makes a great song great?
Yeah, what makes great music great? I think is all we said. It's the lyrics for sure. It's how you say something or how you convey an idea. It's also the rhythm or the whatever you call it.
The beat.
The beat. Yeah, it's the music that goes with it.
Mm-hmm. And what it means to you, right?
Yeah. And like you said, it could be like the day after something really bad happens, and then you hear a song that never touched you before, and it just stabs at you, and you feel it, whether it's a bad feeling or a good one, or a sad one. Yeah, it's all the way down to the level of our biology and anatomy, like you said, sound being frequency, vibrations, and, like, and how much of, excuse me, how much of how we're made interacts with different frequencies. Like, our bodies are what, like 70% water?
Yeah, at least, I think.
Something like that. And I've seen like experiments done with different frequencies that literally move water in a different way. Like, certain frequencies will do something to water, do nothing to water. Other frequencies will make it like thump and beat, and it'll actually literally move the water.
And it have you seen those ones where the water will make geometric shapes?
Like
those semantics,
like
about semantics.
Like when it freezes or something.
No, they'll put like a speaker and then a plate of water above it.
Yeah.
And then the
speaker
will do a frequency.
It'll create
geometric shapes.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It's like, and then you got like a diamond or something, and then it'll turn it up, and then it'll transform into something else.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting or go on YouTube and just Google like water semantics, CYMANTICS.
However you spell semantics. But yeah, well, like if we see those experiments affecting water, and we're 70% ish water, that's like, well, hold on a sec. How does that affect us?
Yeah.
Also, there's that experiment that Greg Braden talks about. Look this up. It was like Greg Braden. It's like the power of words, and they use water. They had like 2 cups of water, 2 containers. And on one of them they wrote sick. The other one they wrote something like love.
Yeah.
And they said they would always literally speak words to the bad words to the sick one, and good, loving, encouraging words to the one they wrote, love on. And it was like over like a 30-day period or something like that. It wasn't long. The cylinder that had the dirty water, or the water in it that had sick on it, and they spoke bad words to it, and you're awful, you suck, you'll never be anything, we hate you. That water got brown and dirty.
Yeah.
They're identical in this control experiment. The one they spoke love to was crystal clear and clean.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the power of words, but then again, if we're 70% or so water and our bodies were made up of, how powerful are those words? And there's even an old Bible verse that says life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, how literal is that now? It's not just, I feel that way when you said that about me, but it's like, what did that literally do to your body?
Yeah, the ancient Toltecs, one of their 4 agreements is, I always forget the name of the word that they use. It's not be meticulous with your words. It's be. I'll remember it here in a second.
I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
But you know what really fascinates me about that water experiment is, how does the water speak English? You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying the word love or the word hate or whatever. But it's only one language
of many.
Yeah, and so not only is it the
feeling or the intention of the word?
It's got to be the intent.
Beneath the pronunciation of it, it would have to be a feeling being pushed forward, or an intent projected on it. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm asking.
It has to be more than the vocabulary word, because if the ancient Toltecs were doing it, they didn't speak English.
They didn't speak English.
But it worked.
Yeah, but it worked, yeah.
So was it a feeling? Because that's what Greg Braden talks a lot about. Greg Braden has a lot of great work on this. And he talks about, the power of words, and how, like, Joe Dispenza does this too, where they talk about, like, it's the intention. Like, there's this idea that I was never taught growing up, but praying. Neville Goddard, he talked a lot about this. If you pray, basically, he was saying when you pray, if you imagine the desired outcome you want and you experience the emotion in your mind strong enough, frequently enough, that will come about. Now, that's not obviously 100% in every case, but there have been studies done on this, and people have seen it happen. You don't see it here in America because we're not into that shit. Yeah. You over like another Greg Braden video. It's on YouTube. There are these healers over in like India or something. This lady had cancer in her brain, and she's laying on this medical table, and they have this certain chant they do. There's like 4 or 5 of these shamans, these healers, and they're saying these words, and she's hooked up to the screen, the MRI, like they're looking in real time at the tumor in her brain, and over about 7 or 8 or 10 minutes, they're saying these words. They're believing for the healing. Like basically, what they were saying was, "You are healed. You are healed. You are healed." Well, and each of them actually literally believed it was going away, and that she was healed, and that they were experiencing the emotion of that desire fulfilled. Like, what would you feel like if this literally happened?
Yeah.
And you can see it on the screen. It's on the medical screen. It's literally getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's gone. Mm-hmm. Now in America, we go, "Oh, that's bullshit."
Right.
But like, there's things that happen in other countries. People here wouldn't believe. They'd be like, "No, I can't explain that. I don't." Mm-hmm. The thing I've learned in life, you don't have to be able to explain it for it to be real. Like, yeah, there's a lot of shysters out there and snake oil salesmen, but there's also things that happen, even though we can't prove them or we don't understand why or how, they just do. But that had to do with words.
Well, we use that a little bit in our American culture, but in a different way. Okay. That's fascinating, by the way, and I love hearing about this stuff. But I feel like we do use that a little bit because America's got like a hustle culture, right? You got to work hard to get what you want. You know, everybody's
it's
got
good, but
hustle,
it's bad, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But within that culture, or within those American ideas, we have this concept of, if you just keep working for it, if you just believe in yourself, if you just believe that you can do it, and you follow it up with action, it's going to happen for you, right? So we sort of use that.
Yeah.
We sort of use that. But I completely believe in that. I think there's a lot that we don't understand about intentions.
Yeah.
If we project intentions out...
that's a key word too. It's intent.
Yeah. It has an effect on the water. It has an effect on... That was a good point about all the water that's in our bodies.
Well, if it happens to a little cup of water, well, we're like 70% that. Like, how does that affect us? And you don't think about it until you start thinking about it. Then you wonder why there are people who... You ever met somebody who, like, they're always a downer, they're always pissed off, the world's always against them, they always got screwed. Like, they always have a fucking problem, and they're never the fucking problem, apparently. It's always something else.
Yeah.
And, like, then, like, the person's always sick, yet they have no medical problem. Or they're always getting sick over and over, but there's no real cause for this to be a recurring chronic thing, but they're just always sick. And it's like, you look at them and you go, no wonder they're sick. They're always talking negative. It's like, there's something about it that, like, you just sort of, like, I don't want to sound woo-woo here, but, like, you do sort of attract in life what you are.
Mm-hmm. What you focus on, yeah.
Yeah, if you're always pissed off, sad, mad, like you're probably going to attract those kinds of people, and you're probably going to attract those kinds of things. And people go, "Oh, nothing ever goes right for me." And it's like, yeah, it doesn't. Like, have a nice day. I don't want you coming around anymore. Like, I don't want you getting that shit on me.
Yeah.
Because it spreads too.
It does, yeah. You got to be careful who you associate with. What's his name? Henry Ford had a quote that said, whether you believe that you can or you believe that you can't, you are right.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's I think that kind of falls in line with that.
Oh, yeah, because, like, there are things that 100 years ago people go, "Oh, that would be impossible. You can't do that." Until someone does.
Yep.
And then it's like suddenly we all believe it. And then not only does multiple people start doing that, but they do even greater things. It's like that 4-minute mile. The first time, what was his name? Roger Bannister, I think was his name. When he broke the 4-minute mile
Yeah,
running.
they said it couldn't be done.
Couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Until he did. After that,
Everybody was
like dozens of people were doing it. It was a belief thing.
They because people truly believed that it was possible.
Yeah,
And
some
so they were able to make it
scientist who
happen.
was being too logical was like, it can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
Until this guy did it. And then you're like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Imagine
well, that's
all the
another
things-
words having power, though.
Yeah. Imagine all the things that they thought was impossible 500 years ago. If they could come here today and they're like, holy shit,
You can be from New York to London in 5 hours or however long.
And you can broadcast it to everybody. And
You can talk to the world from
Yeah.
your home.
yeah. You got a computer in your pocket? What the fuck's a computer?
It's on your
500 years
wrist.
ago?
You got an Apple Watch, too.
Yeah.
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 Like, remember how the teachers used to say, hey, you have to learn how to divide longhand and write all of it out because, well, you're not always going to have a calculator with you.
Yeah.
Well, you were wrong, teachers of the 90s
yeah.
and the 80s. We do. And they're not only on our phone, it's on our wrist and it's everywhere.
Before we know it, it's going to be in our brains. We're going to
You
have
just think,
implants.
what is the square root of blah, blah, blah? And it's like, there it is.
Boom, got it.
Yeah, that's a little scary, but hey, who's to say it's not possible? Like,
Who's to say? Man?
yeah,
Who's to say?
yeah. But hey, this episode has been about why is great music? What makes great music great? And you're a super musical guy. You used to own a music equipment company, and you play guitar. That's why I knew we have the same classic rock love. I knew you would be totally into this.
Music
topic.
is medicine. I don't want to finish this episode without.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always said that music is medicine. If you're, whatever it is you're going through, there's some music out there that can help you get through it.
Yeah.
On a personal note, I had a pretty. We all have, right? But I know of my own experiences. I've had some pretty rocky points in my life. Been going through. Go through like. I can't think of the word. There's no vocabulary today. I don't know why. It's probably
Turbulent?
It's probably because turbulent is a good
Turbulent.
word. Yeah.
Times in your life.
I stayed up late last night watching the World Series, so I'm tired. But very turbulent times in my life. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it. And I've always said that music saved my life because when you're a teenager and you're dealing with a lot of emotions and stuff like that. You can find the right music.
There's a solace in the music.
Yeah, but also it like when it evokes that emotion, then you realize, oh, I'm not the only person that's felt this way. These people playing this song,
They felt
they
it so much.
understand.
They
Somebody
wrote a
out there
song.
understands, right?
Yeah.
Or you can allow the music to hijack your emotions to lead you in the right direction, as opposed to the worst thing, suicide or something like that.
Yeah, don't be led in the wrong direction. Like I remember when Eminem got famous. He had part of one of his songs. He's like, people say music can alter moods and talk to you. Well, next time you assault a dude, just tell the judge it was my fault and I'll get sued. He's talking about the same thing about how music can drive you to do something. But he's like, I didn't tell you to drive. I didn't tell you to do that. You did that. So like, I think that's a good example of like, it can bring you peace or to a place where like you're not as on the edge. Mm-hmm. Or if you're on the edge and you listen to other stuff, you can just, I don't believe it makes you do anything. It's a willful choice to do something. But it can drive you in a less productive or even a bad direction if you allow it to.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the actions you take, but it can influence you one way or another or anywhere in between.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Music and just art in general, I think.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more I'm realizing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be like, yeah, whatever, just get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm slowing down more in my mind and going, I'm appreciating things more in life I didn't used to see.
Nice.
And appreciate. And it usually has to do with art, whether it's music, visual, stories, whatever. But
yeah.
Awesome. Great music, I think, is great for many of those reasons.
It really is. It's medicinal.
Yeah.
Listen to some music, everybody.
That's right.
But if you have any thoughts about what we talked about today, we'd love it if you left a comment, whether it's a positive or negative comment. Let us know how you feel. And also, if you have questions or a topic that you'd like to see us discuss, Go to questionsaboutlifepodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, send them there.
Send us a question and
Leave a comment, leave a review. You know, we love doing this to reach into your life and give you some good things to think about. So leave a real quick, it takes like 3 seconds to click that star or a like button, subscribe, and leave us a review. And, you know, that helps other people who are out there looking for something to relate to know that they're just like you and me, and we can reach more people. So like Daniel said, questionsaboutlifepodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions. We'll be happy to talk about them.
Thanks for watching, guys.